Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel. So we are just discussing about the interview sessions for TypeScript also here. Our Angular interview question has been done for your preparations, guys. So let's discuss about TypeScript and RxJS also over here. So let's discuss first about first question in TypeScript. What TypeScript is and why we are using for TypeScript. So lots of questions we are just defining here. You can just see one by one. You can see starting from question 1 to question last 23. So what is why TypeScript? Okay. First question is why TypeScript? So the TypeScript is a subset of a JavaScript. Always understand like TypeScript data will convert into JavaScript, then only it will compile the data. Okay. So TypeScript is a subset of JavaScript. It emphasizes on the strong typing and advanced language of the construct the help to the right client and server side code. Okay. TypeScript is a cross-platform open source and the compile to the JavaScript and the compilable, compatible and the easy or every minor or major browser to the popular JavaScript framework. The JavaScript language has a handful of TypeScript like string, number, boolean, and TypeScript let you define your own types in a very object-oriented manner. Okay, so right now whatever the Angular is running like 16, so in a 16 without defining the types of class variable, you cannot declare it. Okay, you cannot use it. Will throw the error. So it is a very strict thing. So if you are using the TypeScript where editors of VS Code or Visual Studio Code, it becomes a lot easier to examine the properties and a method available on a custom types. Okay, navigate to around the project and based on that simple declaration of your code. Next question is TypeScript versus JavaScript. So TypeScript is an object-oriented programming concept like classes, interface, and inheritance generic etc. where the JavaScript is a scripting language. It has a features known as static typing where the JavaScript has having static typing. It has not having static typing. Now the TypeScript gives the support for module generic ES6 etc. where the JavaScript does not support modules generic 6 etc. It supports the option of parameters function where the JavaScript does not optional parameter function. TypeScript compiles the code highlighted error during the development type, but if you are talking about JavaScript, it interpreted language why that's why it is highlighted into the error on a runtime. The TypeScript is a number string. These are the interfaces, but in this number string are the objects in JavaScript. It developed by the Anders Hallsberg in 2012. It was developed by Netscape in 1995. Next question is what are the advantages of using TypeScript? It is the most important question. Why we are using TypeScript? What is the advantage of TypeScript? So TypeScript is a faster, simple, and most importantly, easy to learn. TypeScript support the development of object-oriented code features such as classes, interfaces, inheritance, generics, etc. Even the minimal knowledge. TypeScript offers the API for DOM manipulations. TypeScript has a very good IDE support at automations or auto completions, types checkings, and the source documentation, which helps developers to save ton of valuable times. TypeScript can be used for both side like client side as well as the development side. TypeScript comes with a type that makes code easier and easy to avoid major errors. It is better than the compile to the catch the error having things fail at the runtime. Now the next point is the TypeScript are one of the best form to the documentation you can have. The function signature and the theorism of the function bodies to the proof. TypeScript also have the concept of the namescape by module defining, which makes it reusable and allow lazy loading. TypeScript support the latest JavaScript features including ECMAScript 2015 and also gives all the benefits of ES6 plus more productivity. Next question is what are the different type of supported by the TypeScript? It has a different types supported by the TypeScript is string, number, boolean, arrays, tuple, enum, undefined, void, null, any, and never. String means string is a series of a character that are stored in a UTF-16 Unicode. Okay. Number is a reflect to the value of the number form. The number are stored in a floating points value in a TypeScript. Boolean is having a value to true or false. Array can be list of the number of togethers. Tuples, the date type allows to use the create array where the fixed number of element known as non are the same. Enums allow to the creating the user defined data type. Undefined type are donated as untitled variables. Void avoid to the returns of the function and returns type of a value. Null represent a variable whose value is undefined. It is not possible to directly to reference and a null types. Any it can be implemented to ensure data value declarations set values. Most of the time developers use any directly. Never means it represents the data type values and never occur. Next question is what are the TypeScript collections like other programming languages? TypeScripts are also support for the collection like map, set, etc. To know about the TypeScript collection, let's see the framework for this one. Okay, lots of frameworks are there. For the framework 7 interview questions of Angular bootstrapping examples. Now the next question is what are the generic in TypeScript? The generic are the features of the TypeScript which allows you to take advantage of that type safely while creating code you can reduce throughout your maps. Reusability type safe code work with a multiple types, maybe function interface or a classes. Code can accept any parameters of which instance or invocations. Interfaces are there. You are seeing the interfaces. We are using data structure. Push or pop methods are there. Push is used to pushing the data into the array or anything. Pop you can delete the things. Okay, now the next question is explain the enum in TypeScript. Enums are data type form of the TypeScript that enable us to define a set of names constant. Enum may facilitate to recording purpose of settings of a number of different cases, the collection of related values and numeric or string values. Okay. The next question is what is tsconfig.json file? The tsconfig.json file in TypeScript is a JSON based format. We may define the multiple options in the display of the compiler how to create the current projects in the tsconfig.json file. The presence of the file of tsconfig.json in the directory indicates that the folder is a root on the project TypeScript. The simple config.json tsconfig.json is described like if you are seeing here the below like this is the data for tsconfig.json file. Next question is what is the lambda arrow function? Okay, we can call it as lambda or arrow function. Both the things are there. We can call ES6 TypeScript version provides a shorthand and the syntax. For example, function expression are defined. The anonymous function that function this arrow are known as lambda or lambda function or the function without a name. The function arrow omits the keywords function. Like let us see this one. A is equal to number, b equal to number arrow function we are using here, which we can call it as an anonymous function also, which returns a plus b data. So sum of the value of both the things is 10 plus 20 is equal to 30. Okay, it returns 30. Next question is, does TypeScript supported function overloading? Yes, TypeScript supported function overloading also. However, the execution of the string only the one of the function of the multiple signatures can be implemented when we perform the overload in TypeScript. Okay, overloading is working here in TypeScript. So be conscious, like function add a string b string is equal to, we are using this for example. Okay, now the first two lines are the overloaded declarations functions in this example. It is overloaded by the two. Okay, the former has a string parameter while the former has a type number parameter. Okay, the third function, if you are listening or seeing here, so containing actual executions that has a type parameters any. Okay, here it is type any. So any type of data can be take data of any kind of executions. The executions check the parameters of the type execution and other code based on the supply of the parameter type. Now the next question is, what is the interfaces in TypeScript? The interfaces define the syntax of any variable or entity. Interfaces define the properties or a method and event. Only the member are declared here. Interfaces are the useful in defining the different members and help to define the structure of the drifting classes. Interfaces can be declared using the keyword of the interfaces. Interfaces defines the syntax of any variable entity. Okay, just make sure you need to understood, like interface employee we are just here, name is equal to string, dob equal to date, date is address equal to string. These things are there. Okay, this is the error. Now the next question again arises for related to TypeScript is, what can we convert string to number using TypeScript? So the TypeScript we can achieve by four ways. Okay, so first thing is parse int x. Okay, we are using parse int. Okay, we are just converted into uh, string to number, parse int x, parse float x. Okay, in parse float x also we can do using unary like plus or star operator. We can do using number. Okay, number directly if you are using, again it will convert into string to number. The next question is related to this TypeScript is, what is a map file and way how we can use it. A map file is a source file. That file can be used to debugging, or it can be generated by the setting an option of the source map compiler to the tsconfig.json file. So compilation options or a source map is equal to true. What does the record type do? The next question for TypeScript is, what does the record type do? It allows you to create a type map. Let employee record string number. Employee is equal to 35. Now the next question is, can we explain what are the rest parameter and its rule? Declare rest parameter. A rest parameter is used to pass the function to the zero moves value by predicting or prefixing the three dots character before the parameter. Before the parameter, it is declared. just got to understand this question. This question is most important, guys. Can we explain what are the rest parameter and its a rule to declare the rest parameter? So it is prefixed three dots for the character. Okay, it is declared. It makes to the possible function to our variable number of the arguments without using any object argument, where we can unify or undetermined number of the parameter. It is a very useful. Okay, so the rule of following rest parameters is only one rest parameter is allowed in a function. It must be an array type and it must be a last parameter in the parameter list. Okay, if you are seeing here last parameter in the list in an array type which is having before three dots. Okay, so the next question is related to this TypeScript is explain and how we use the class outsider in a module where it was defined. So here we are given the example for the module over the applications, or we can call it as, for example, we are given here module we are creating as a parameter, I mean parents. Okay, we are creating as object. So here export keywords. Okay, export keywords in a TypeScript to access the class outsider. Okay, yeah, the export keywords in TypeScript to access class an outsider constructor. Here we are using for two objects, two values like name is equal to string, email equal to string. Okay, the admin variable will allow to access the employee classes here and outside the module with the help of export keyword in the TypeScript. Okay, here the new keyword we are using for admin data we will fetch from here. Okay, so nick we are defining over there. So now the next question is related to TypeScript is what is as syntax used in TypeScript. As syntax used to TypeScript in assertion in TypeScript as syntax was implemented because of original syntax type crashed with JSX. What is the next question is what exactly in contextual typing? If you are seeing the example in contextual type, so you have type on one side of the equations but not for other. The TypeScript compiler will not find our the form. For the instance, we can rewrite the preceding example function as follows. Okay, so here we are using some with the let keyword. I mean let we are defining some of a variable. First name number, second name number, and we are using arrow function for the number equal to this is the function. Okay, and return also over there. So we should omit the typings on the right side and the equal silence, and the TypeScript can work it out automatically. The next question is what exactly in JSX? It is possible to JSX in TypeScript? Yes. JSX in TypeScript XML-like syntax that can be embedded is supported to be translated into the valid JavaScript. With the React system, JSX generally populating TypeScript allow you to embed type such as compiler JSX directly JavaScript. Okay, our next question is what JSX model does typing is TypeScript supported? So there are three JSX model including with the TypeScript prevents, response and React Native. Preserve model is work as a hold to JSX part of output ready to consume by the subsequent transforms stages. Okay, for example, the output would also have the extensions of the .jsx format. Next one is React mode. So React mode will emit the React.create element which does not need any JSX transform before use it as a.js file extension. A React.native mode is a similar preserved mode. It holds to JSX but output a.js file. Now the TypeScript has been done. Thank you so much. Now the next part is our RxJS part. Okay, where we are. This is a very most important and advanced level of our Angular file. So just be careful and continue for this RxJS. So thank you so much for this one. Now the next part is RxJS interview questions. Okay, so be prepared and we are just completing this into this part only. So let's discuss with RxJS first. RxJS, what is RxJS? If we are going to for the interview, so first question is coming from the RxJS side. What is RxJS? Why we are using RxJS? So RxJS, if it is coming, so full form first you know about RxJS. RxJS is a reactive extension for JavaScript. Okay, reactive extension for JavaScript. So this is reactive means react. This is first question, and the first question here the output will be coming from like a reactive itself. It is saying it is a reactive programming. Okay, so you can just give the answer for this question is RxJS is an asynchronous that full form is a reactive extension for JavaScript. It is a JavaScript library that uses the observable to work with reactive programming with deals with asynchronous data calls, callbacks and event-based program. RxJS nothing but it is handle to stream of data you can call. Okay, it is a reactive programming to implement a reactive extension of a TypeScript and JavaScript. Now, the RxJS work as a combination of observer pattern, iteration pattern, and functional programming. RxJS is a library for reactive programming using observable to make it easier to compose asynchronous or callback based code. It is a standalone JavaScript library that gives access to the programmer to the observable. RxJS can also be used to other JavaScript libraries, frameworks, and JavaScript TypeScript as well supported. Now the next question again related to this RxJS is what is reactive programming? If you know RxJS, then reactive programming is the most important for the next question is be ready for this reactive programming. So reactive programming is a declarative programming paradigm which deals with asynchronous data stream. Glenn Warden, first developer to develop this reactive programming in asynchronous data stream in 1986 as a programming language to the supervisory control and data equations industry. Event basis of the typical click on event called as asynchronous data events stream used to reactive programming to observe and do some side effects. So reactive programming facilitates to create data stream in anything not just from click and over event. Okay. So now next question is what should we do before going to the learn RxJS? Before learn RxJS, you must have to basic knowledge about JavaScript, JavaScript framework, and Angular. Next question is what are the most outstanding feature of RxJS? So the most features of RxJS are used to handle the concept of RxJS to the reactive programming. Is first one is observer. Observer is nothing but it is object with a next error and complete method which are called when we have the interact with observable. For example, source interact with example of a button click, HTTP request, etc. Or what is observable? Observable is nothing in RxJS, but also the observable is a function is used to create an observer and attaches to the source of where the value are expected. For example, click mouse event from the DOM elements or the HTTP request from the observable. Observable is a handle for the stream of data records will go in observable first, then data observable will send their data for the listener through the observer. Now, next point is subscription. What is subscription? So subscriber or subscription is the role to come the sense when the observable is created. After creating the observable, then only subscribe method will work. So here to execute the observable, we need to subscribe to it. It can be also be used to cancel or the execution. What is operator? Operator are a very important part of RxJS, as operator are the pure function that takes the observable input and emit rest in the output form. Inputs are input and output, both are the observable. Okay, so subsets. Now the subset is in a multicast. For example, tar to many observables. Suppose we have button with an event listener. The function attached to event using add listener is called every time the user click on the button. Similar functionality goes on the subject too. That is subject. Scheduler. A scheduler controls the execution of the subscription that has start to be notified or noticed. The next question is, what are the biggest advantages of reactive programming? The advantage of the reactive programming is to provide a lot of operators that can simplify our work. Reactive programming is a very simple and composed stream of data. It can be used to avoid callback programs. The reactive programming is very simple and do asynchronous and threaded tasks. It makes to complex threading very easy. By using reactive programming, we can get more clearer and readable code base. Reactive programming is very easy and implement to base pressure. Next question is, what are the biggest advantage and disadvantage of using RxJS? Now advantage we have already told, but again we are repeating for the RxJS. Advantage is RxJS can be used with other JavaScript libraries and framework. It is supported by JavaScript and also be the TypeScript. Okay, few of the examples like Angular, React, JS, Venues or Node.js, etc. RxJS is awesome library when it comes to the handling of asynchronous tasks. RxJS uses observable to work with reactive programming that deals with asynchronous data calls, callback, and event-based program. RxJS offers a huge collection of operations, is mathematical transformation, filtering, utility, conditional error handling, join, and categorize makes easy when you use reactive programming. So this is the advantage of RxJS. Now we can easily move on. Disadvantage of the RxJS. So it has some disadvantages like debugging the code or observable is a little difficult. You can also observable. You can end up with a full code wrap under the observable. So now the next question is, what is Redux? Now Redux is an open source JavaScript library which has used to manage the application state. Okay, it is most common for or commonly used to the library for such as React, Angular or RxJS for building the interfaces. Redux is inspired by the Facebook Flux Rx architecture. Now the next question is, what is core principle of Redux? So the core principle of Redux is single source of truth. State is a read-only. Changes are made with the pure functions. But now the next question is, what do you understand by RxJS stream? So stream of RxJS is a sequence of ongoing event ordered in time. On the other hand, we can say that stream is a sequence of data element which is available over the time. A stream, we can prove the item build being proceed one at a time. Stream emits three different types, or we can do like a value of a some types, an array, error, and a completed signal. Now the next question is for RxJS side is what do you understand by reactive manifesto document? So manifesto document is introduced by defining the principle and reactive programming. The document known as a reactive manifesto. So reactive manifesto document is a first release 2023 by the group of developers lead to the man called as chosen one. Next question is there any similarity between Redux and RxJS? Yes. Although Redux and RxJS are a very different libraries for very different purpose, but they have some similarities also. Like Redux is a tool used to manage state throughout the application. It is usually used to architecture of UI. But RxJS is a reactive programming library. It is usually used to tool to accomplish asynchronous tasks in JavaScript. Now the next question is what is difference between reactive programming and impressive programming? The reactive programming is observable is emit data and send it to the subscriber. This process can be called as a data publish. Reactive programming, on other hand, data being pulled imperative programming, where the implicitly request data. Now the next question is what is difference between behavioral subject and observable? Now the next question is what is the difference between behavioral subject and observable in RxJS? So the observable is a stateless where the behavioral subject is stateful. Observable is a create copy of a data where behavioral subject share the data. Observable is a unidirectional in nature where behavioral subject is a bidirectional in nature. Next question is what are the operators in RxJS? What are the different type of observable used in RxJS? This is the most important and most used this question. So operators are very important parts of RxJS. RxJS operator purely functions and that takes an observable as an input to provide the output as well as also it is a form of observable. We have used pipe method to work with the operators. Okay, so we are just seeing here following most used operators in RxJS is creation operator, mathematical operator, join operator, transformation operator, filtering operator, utility operator, conditional operator, multicasting operator, error handling operator, etc. etc. Now the next question is what is an observable in RxJS? The observable is nothing but we have already told you what is observable. So observable is a nothing but a function that is used to create observer and attaches it into the source where the value are expected from. For example, click mouse click event from the DOM elements and an HTTP request. Okay, so RxJS observable gives us the idea to invoke collection of a future values in an event. So we have defining here steps of observable in RxJS is create observable first, then subscribe it. Okay, that observable we can subscribe, then we can execute the observable. Okay, so this is the method to following the steps for the observable. Next question is related to the RxJS is the difference between RxJS observable and promises. This is the most common question which interviewer asks. So the answer is for this question is RxJS observable are used to run asynchronously and we get the return value in a multiple times where promises are used to run asynchronous data we can get value at least only one. Observables are lazy but promises are not lazy. Observables can be cancelled but promise cannot be cancelled. Observable provides multiple future values but promise provide a single future value. Now the next question is what is the advantage of RxJS observable over the RxJS promises? The advantage of RxJS is an RxJS observable is like a stream of data. It uses to pass the zero or more event where the callback is called for each event. Observable is always preferred over promises because it provides all the features of promises and more. By using observable, we can handle single or multiple event. Observable are cancelable so that we can also advantage over the promises. Observable allows lazy initialization. Observable allows the formatting data. Observable provides the operators like map, for each, reduce, etc. What is the difference between React and RxJS? So I think this is theoretical questions. So we can see at once. React is an open source JavaScript library, but RxJS is a library for composing asynchronous programming. By using React, we can easily create React UI, but RxJS we can easily use to create compose asynchronous callback data role. Next question is, what do you understand by the terms of non-blocking in RxJS? So non-blocking in RxJS in an algorithm is called as a thread compacting for the resources to not have any execution, identifying and the post state by the mutual exclusion and protecting that resources. Now the next question is, which is also theoretical, what does asynchronous means in context RxJS reactive programming? So according to Oxford Dictionary, the terms as asynchronous can be defined as a not existing or occurring at the same time. It context the reactive programming. It means the processing of request occurs at the arbitrary points in a time, sometimes after it has been transmitted from the client to the service. Now the next question is, what is difference between cold and hot observable in RxJS? It is the most common question in RxJS. So we can just differentiate between both. Cold, we can call it as observable code when the data is produced inside the observable, where the hot, we can call it as hot when the data is produced outside of the observable. Okay, it means cold is called inside the observable, but hot is called outside of the observable. Next point is cold observable start to run upon the subscription, but hot observable produce value even before a subscription is made. Next point is the code observable sequence only start pushing the value observable when the subscription is called, but inside that hot observable, hot is such mouse event stock speakers and a WebSocket connection already produced in a value of before subscription is active. Now the cold observable start running upon the subscription where hot observables produce value before subscription. So lots of point I have added here. You can just study. Next question is, what do you understand by anchor model in RxJS? It is also actor model in RxJS. It is not most important, but yes, you need to study about as actor model specific that concurrency primitive and actor. So I have covered all the points, all the questions in RxJS as well as we can call it as TypeScript and Angular. Everything's are there, so you can just go through. If you are not seeing my previous video, just go through my previous video and see the Angular related interview questions. Here we are just discussing about RxJS. So next point is for this actor model is it can send message to any actor they know about it. Okay. So now next question is, what does a subject do in RxJS? Subject can be special type of observable that allows to value in a multicast many observable. RxJS subject multicast instead of pen observable, which are unicast and subject to equivalent to the event emitter to only the multicast in the value event multiple and observable. Subject implement the observable interface. Every subject observable we can subscribe to it, and subject is an observer. Types of subject is subject, a replay subject, behavior subject, and async subject. Next question is, what are the difference between Subject, behavioral subject, and replace subject in RxJS. Subject is an observable or subscribed later, do not obtain the data values emitted before the subscription. But a relay subject, a replay subject is an observable who can subscribe at the later point a received data value issue before their subscription. Behavioral subject function similar to the replay subject, but only reissue is the last emitted value, so it should be used when you can instead sorry interested in the observable last current value. What is RxJS map and what do you understand by higher order observable mapping? So the map operators familiarities with the project and payloads of the observable into the something else. We can see the powerful features of the observable when we start using the re-operators to transform it. So the map in RxJS is transform or manipulating the data from one format to another format. Okay, you can call. Now the map mapping in observable is to observable emitted value in other observable in higher order mapping instead of mapping a flat value one to another values. Okay. Now the next question is map should we use switch map, merge map, and concat map in RxJS. So we can mainly use the types of a mapping operator used in RxJS: concat map, merge map, and switch map, excuse map, excuse map. All these operators are mapping used to flattening operators used to flatten operation observables, but they are applicable with every different scenarios. The switch map or the merge map are most powerful and frequently to the operator. Let's see the operation. This is the operators concat we are using like this. So concat we are using here concat map. So this is the format of using concat map. Okay. Now the concat map details are here. Now the next thing is merge map operators. So merge map is here. Now the switch map you can just study one by one. Okay, merge map is here. Unlike the concat map operator, merge map will not wait until the observable finish. Okay, same thing for switch map also you can study. Next question is what is back pressure in reactive programming? So back pressure is a resident force opposing and the desired flow to fluid through pipes. Okay, so this is the things. Next question is what do you understand by elasticity in contrast to elasticity? So it is infrastructure in the term of elasticity. Elasticity can be defined as the ability to quickly expand to the cut and back capabilities to the services. Okay. Now the next question is what is difference between failure and error? So failure can be defined as the unexpected event within the services prevents and form functionality. Normally when the failure occurs, it can generally prevent a response to the current possibly or following the client request. Errors are defining to the failure. Error is a common condition to the appearance of during the validations and communicated with the client part of the messages and normal processing. Now the next question is what is difference between imperative functional and reactive programming? Imperative programming is nothing but paradigm where the sequentially executed produce of a desired result, where the functional programming is nothing but it is a set of everything as a result of functional to avoid the changes and state of the metering data. Now the reactive programming if you are calling about here, Programming paradigm which asynchronous data stream to the event stream is called as an event stream as anything like keyboard input button, tap, gesture, GPS location, everything is coming within a reactive programming. Okay, now the next question is for reactive or RxJS is understand about realized and reactive systems. So we can just reactive system means system will stay response. It is get to chance of failure. Okay, so any system that is not realized or realized will be unresponsive after a failure. Now this question has been done. I mean the RxJS part has been done. So I hope you got and you understood, and it is very important we have covered all your points, all the points for RxJS, TypeScript and Angular. So everything here we have covered both the things like TypeScript and RxJS, and on the first video I have covered full Angular tutorial series of interview series. So here all the things are closed from Angular side. Hope you guys are enjoying. So best of luck for your interview. Thank you so much. Have a good day and good night. Bye bye. We'll meet in the next video for our next interview series. Thank you.